Man, a game like this really makes you question not just the Indiana Fever, but the WNBA as a whole. That opening stretch with all the shot clock malfunctions, pure chaos. Are we running a professional league here or a middle school scrimmage? Because honestly, even middle schools have smoother operations than what we just watched tonight. It wasn't just painful, it was exhausting. Easily one of the hardest games I've had to sit through all season. And that's saying a lot because usually the Golden State Valkyries are fun to watch. They're entertaining, and their coach, of all the off-season hires, clearly knows what she's doing. She's sharp, she has a system, and her players buy into it. Meanwhile, the Fever, phew, the so-called highlight of the night. Maybe Caitlin Clark walking into the arena before tip-off. Seriously? That might have been the best part because the second the ball was tossed up, it was downhill from there. The Fever were completely run out of the gym. And let's not sugarcoat it, the Valkyries have owned Indiana all season long. Now, before I dive deeper into this disaster, here's why I'm fired up. Outside of the embarrassing shot clock fiascos and that dragged-out game pace, here's where we stand. The Fever just slipped into the 8th and final playoff seed. That's right, the very last spot, hanging by a thread. And after tonight, it doesn't even look like we belong in the postseason picture. And don't get me started on the officiating. Natasha Howard's traveling tour was out of control. 5 steps in one direction, ball in hand, no dribble, and somehow no whistle. I counted at least 4 or 5 of those tonight. Are we blind out here? And then, you know how long the first half took? 1 hour and 32 minutes. 92 minutes. For just 2 quarters of basketball. That's not hoops, that's torture. Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner, should pay us all back for sitting through this disaster. But let's not kid ourselves. The officials didn't lose this game for Indiana. The Fever lost this game all on their own. And you know where it starts? Coaching Stephanie White has been exposed this season. Over and over. The same patterns repeat. No adjustments, no urgency, no accountability. You can't keep running the same broken zone defense against a team that's raining threes on your head. You can't keep leaving shooters wide open and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. And tonight was proof that either she doesn't have the answers or she refuses to make the necessary changes. Neither is acceptable. Offensively, it was just as bad. No rhythm, no movement, no urgency. Way too much standing around at the three-point line, hoping something would magically fall. 30-plus threes launched, barely any of them dropping. That's not offense, that's desperation. And the worst part? Aaliyah Boston, your best player in the paint, barely got touches. How do you let that happen in a game with playoff stakes? She's an all-star, a force inside, and you're treating her like a role player while your guards throw up bricks from deep. It's sabotage, whether intentional or just incompetence. Either way, it's killing the Fever's season. And let's talk about leadership. Where's the fire? Where's the accountability? This team looked flat from the opening tip. There was no energy, no spark, no urgency to play like their season was on the line. That falls on the coach. Great coaches get their players ready to fight, even when things go wrong. Instead, Stephanie White looked lost on the sidelines, arms folded, watching the collapse unfold like the rest of us. That's not leadership, that's resignation. The Valkyries, meanwhile, were everything the Fever weren't. Confident, disciplined, sharp. They played with joy and purpose, even when the shot clock issues dragged the game out. They stayed locked in. And that's why they swept Indiana this season. They know how to execute, and they have a coach who puts them in positions to succeed. It's night and day compared to what we're watching in Indiana. And let me say this. If this is what playoff basketball is going to look like for the Fever, we're in big trouble. The fans deserve better. Caitlin Clark deserves better. Aaliyah Boston deserves better. The state of Indiana deserves better. Because right now, this is embarrassing. National TV games are supposed to showcase the WNBA in its best light. And instead we got a sloppy, dragged-out disaster that made the league look second-rate. That's unacceptable. Final score: Valkyries 75, Fever 63. Indiana officially swept in the season series. We shot 32% from the field, couldn't guard the three, and completely collapsed under pressure. Stephanie White admitted after the game that the shot clock fiascos disrupted the team's rhythm. Fine, but she also admitted the defense kept overhelping, giving up open catch, shoot looks, and that offensively we were tentative and slow. Well, whose job is it to fix that? It's hers. And it hasn't happened all season, so here we are. The Fever are clinging to the last playoff seed, looking like they don't even belong. One more performance like this, and the dream is over. And honestly, maybe that's for the best. Because if this team sneaks into the postseason just to get embarrassed again, what's the point? Change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. This is your channel name, and I'm telling you straight. Stephanie White has been exposed. The Fever aren't losing because of bad luck or bad whistles. They're losing because of bad leadership, bad execution, and bad preparation. And unless something changes immediately, this season is going down as a failure. All right, so let's dig even deeper, because what we witnessed wasn't just a bad game. It was a symptom of a bigger problem eating away at the Fever from the inside. And if Indiana fans aren't careful, this team could waste an entire year of Caitlin Clark's rookie season, and that's unforgivable. Let's start with accountability. Good teams, winning team zone their mistakes. You see it in their huddles. You hear it in their post-game comments. But what do we get from Indiana? Excuses? Oh, the shot clock was malfunctioning. Oh, the pace was disrupted. Oh, the Valkyries were hitting tough shots. That's smoke and mirrors. Championship teams take responsibility and fix their issues. Losing teams point fingers at everything else. Guess which category Indiana just put themselves in tonight? And look, let's be real. Caitlin Clark is busting her tail out there. She's the face of the league already, but the burden on her is insane. She's expected to carry the offense, be the leader, and somehow cover up every crack in this broken roster. But she's still a rookie. She can't do it alone. And when you've got a coach who refuses to adjust and veterans who disappear in big moments, what chance does she really have? It's like throwing her into the fire and then acting shocked when she gets burned. Aaliyah Boston deserves her own segment here too, because this isn't just about Caitlin. Boston is an all-star, one of the best bigs in the league already. She should be the foundation of the Fever's offense. Yet somehow, she barely touches the ball. That's not an accident, that's a coaching failure. If your best interior scorer is only seeing a handful of touches while your guards are jacking threes like it's a three-point contest, you don't have an offensive system. You have chaos, and chaos doesn't win in the playoffs. And here's the bigger issue: culture. Do you know what the Golden State Valkyries showed us tonight? Culture. Even in the middle of a sloppy, dragged-out game with shot clock failures, they stayed locked in. They executed, trusted each other, and stuck to their plan. That's culture. Meanwhile, Indiana fell apart. Heads dropped, body language screamed frustration, and by the fourth quarter, it looked like half the team was ready to go home. That's not culture, that's collapse. So let's ask the hard question. Is Stephanie White the right leader for this team? Because right now, the answer is leaning hard toward no. Coaching isn't just about drawing up plays, it's about preparation, motivation, and adjustment. And Stephanie White hasn't delivered in any of those areas this season. She's not willing or able to put Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston in positions to succeed. Then Indiana has to seriously consider making a change. Because wasting talent like this, that's basketball malpractice. And for the fans who still believe this is just a rough patch wake-up, this wasn't a one-off collapse. This has been a pattern all season. The Fever start slow, dig themselves into holes, and then scramble to make it look respectable at the end. That's not a strategy, that's survival mode. And you don't survive in the WNBA when the competition is this fierce. You either adapt or you get run off the floor. Tonight, Indiana got run off the floor again. So here's the bottom line. This loss isn't just another L in the column, it's a warning. A warning that if Indiana doesn't fix its leadership and culture issues immediately, this season will be remembered